Hi, I'm Linda.
Hi, I'm Craig.
And we're here to share with you a special event today. We're going to talk about how you're just one shiny object away from your perfect life. So I'm sure you'll find that very exciting. Now, there is this thing, the fantasy of a perfect life. And I'm sure we've all got a bit of a vision of what that would look like. So things like being relaxed, not having any challenges, no one bugging you, being loved by everybody, all that sort of stuff. Is there something else you can think of in your perfect life fantasy?
Oh yeah, more money than you can poke a stick at.
Yep, more money. Yeah, so never have to worry about the bills coming in. In fact, you don't even see the bills in your perfect life. So yeah, so that would be the fantasy of a perfect life. There's not too many people that experience the perfect life, and even if they look like they're living the perfect life on one side, we can pretty much guarantee you there's other things going on and it's not as perfect as it looks from the outside, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons is because in this human experience, we're actually designed to have tension in our life. We need it, don't we? We need tension. We need to have some challenges. Otherwise, we don't have any growth. There's no expansion whatsoever without those challenges. We can't change our level of thinking. We just stay at the same level all the time. So very important that we have tension in our lives. Now, we tend to have taken that to a whole new level. We tend to now live in stress most of the time rather than just tension. And we find it really hard to make a delineation between the two. And so we just run around thinking life's ganging up on us pretty much.
Everything's stress. We're always stressed. And sometimes we may not be stressed. We might actually be in a state of tension that's creating, something that we really desire, but we misunderstand it and don't know what it really is.
Yeah, for sure. And so we just try and get rid of all of it so we can have that fantasy of the perfect life.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we're always searching for that missing link, that thing that we think if we just get that one thing handled, then everything else will be perfect. It'll be a certain person or getting rid of a certain person. It'll be an amount of money. It'll be something like a certain house or whatever. Once we get that thing, life will be perfect. I won't have to worry about anything ever again. So there's one thing we're going to share with you now, and it's either going to be really liberating for you or really disappointing. So at the moment, you perceive that because you don't have that one thing, that you're actually a little bit broken and that you need fixing. And so we keep searching for these things. So it's quite liberating to find out that you're not broken and you don't need fixing. Everything's perfect. And what's the other side of that equation?
Well, it can be disappointing too to hear such things because we get quite addicted to, not everybody, but plenty of people are quite addicted to that, the prospect of there being a fix. Because if there's a fix, then everything will be awesome. And, it's just that missing link. All I have to do is find it, whether it's, more money or it's the answer to the question or that I don't even know what that question is.
Yeah.
But, so when I find it, I'll be fixed. Life will just spring forward and be everything I'd love it to be from there on.
But that also means they could be losing some of their identity, can't they? Because if they're always sort of living in that victimhood or that drama and the gossip side of things, if they lose that and everything's perfect, that a part of them might die. So that could be quite disappointing too. Yeah, absolutely. So just remember, you're not broken. We're not here to fix you. You don't need fixing. So that's one thing. But we just need a little reorientation. So let's talk a little bit about tension as opposed to stress. We all know what stress is. We just feel stress. We know what's happening. So what's the difference between stress and tension, do you think, by your definition?
By my definition now, I would say stress is sort of a result of tension that's gone unaddressed. And so, you're feeling it in your body. You're feeling that physicality to it, the stress or the tension in the chest or in the solar plexus area, maybe the throat, or maybe you're feeling heat in the body sort of thing. But there's that physical,
component to
sweating, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it's sort of also like tension's something that I feel when I'm starting to move towards something. It could be a little exciting, could be a little scary, but it's something I really want to go for. So that's a tension thing. Whereas for me, stress is like there's some sort of familiar old story. It feels heavy. It's like, so that again, really? Do I have to talk about this again one more time? There's a real difference to it now, whereas not so long ago, I couldn't work out the difference either. It just all felt stressful. It's like, I'm not getting what I want. I can't get anywhere. It's a struggle. So we want to make sure that we can now delineate that difference. And, after a bit of practice, you can too. So it's not that big a deal. So everyone wants to have this ideal fantasy of life. And so we've got this desire. It's just a natural thing as a human to have a desire for something, the next thing. And it's funny because even if you have a desire to have no desire, that's still a desire. So you can't be a monk living in a cave and not have a desire of some sort. And that's because as humans, we're creators. We're designed to create. We have a gap between where we are or where we perceive we are, our current reality, and what we think we want. And once we start to evolve a little further, we actually go for what we would love. We actually define, what would I really love in my life? So when we're dealing with the first part of the creative process, and the one that we're probably all most familiar with, we've got this, as I said, current reality state. I just put CR, current reality. That's where you are right here. And then a lot of us are very good at setting a goal of sorts. Okay. Now, a goal is usually set to actually overcome a problem. So fixing something that's not quite there. So if I just achieve that goal, that problem will go away. And then I'll be on the path to that perfect life fantasy that I want. So let's use an example. What's a great example we could use here for current reality and a goal?
Credit card debt.
Credit card debt. Yeah, of course. So that's a really good one. So let's imagine in your current reality, you've got one of those gold cards, and it's a $10,000 card, and you've got $10,000 in debt on your credit card. I know, I've been there.
Me too.
You do. Exactly. And so you set a goal and you're like, within a certain period of time, I'm going to pay that off. So it's going to be $0 credit card debt. All right, so you may have had a similar situation. It might have been something else, a loan of sorts or whatever. But we've all had something go on where we've got a current reality, we've got a goal. Maybe we're not even sure how we're going to do it. We might set together a plan. We might start saving a certain amount each week, which we put immediately into the credit card bill to help to bring that interest down, that pesky damn interest, and start to work our way at closing the gap. Now, the first thing to be aware of is that we have this unconscious part of ourselves. So I'm going to call it unconscious. And that unconscious part of ourselves is quite a tricky little thing, because first of all, we see this gap and the unconscious part of us jumps in straight away and says, you know what? This is a really big gap. You're an idiot. How did we get here in the first place? How on earth are you ever going to pay it off? It'll start to beat you up a little bit. And we sort of use our willpower and we overcome that inner dialogue to a degree. We sort of force our way through and we get ourselves working off that debt. Bit by bit by bit. Yeah, it takes a bit of time, but as we start to get some momentum, it's sort of like, oh yeah, we're getting there. And then once we get to the goal, what usually happens?
Well, you stay there and you're very happy about that. And feel an amount of freedom and liberation, and then we start to generally slide back down toward where we came from.
We start this process of entropy, and again, some of that's coming from our unconscious little friend in there, because that unconscious side of us actually knows this very well. It knows how it feels. It knows that when you're feeling a little bit under pressure, that it gets to survive. It gets to have its voice. It gets to really sing out and have control of the show. All right. So it's very important to your unconscious part of your mind that you keep in debt to some degree. So it'll also, by some sort of mysterious, weird, magical way, create situations and events to make sure that this happens, even if you've paid the full credit card off.
there's a good reason for that, because this part of the mind has created stories and beliefs ever since you were a child to tell you that you're not capable, you're not safe in the world, and that things are going to come up that you're not going to be able to handle. And so an event like this, where you end up 10K in debt, it reiterates that story and that belief to you, so that you won't question the beliefs and stories of this part of your mind. And that way, that part can keep you safe, essentially, was why it was designed in the first place.
Absolutely. So. And it can do it in the weirdest ways, like all of a sudden you get a fine in the mail that you had no idea that was coming in, or your kid falls over, smashes 3 teeth out of the front of its face and needs to have some dental work done. All sorts of weird and wonderful things. They seem unrelated, but it's just weird when we're not consciously looking at what's happening around us. These things just happen, right?
And we find ourselves feeling like a victim of circumstance.
Absolutely.
There, basically.
It wasn't my fault.
Can I do? I'm powerless.
And I have to use the credit card.
Yeah. It gives you a very good reason to find yourself back here again. So this slide can take place very rapidly, or it can take place very consistently over a period of time, where you find yourself amazingly back up at that same level again. And surprisingly, it often won't go any higher. If it does, it'll spike up, but it'll come to rest back at this
the same level.
Level again.
Even if the bank decided, hey, you're a good customer for us, wink wink, and they've given you an increase in your amount to say 15K, a lot of the time your thermostat will go, oh no, 11K feels a bit weird, so you won't actually go below, and it's a bizarre phenomenon. So this is a really important thing to realize, is that in this, it's such a tangible, measurable way, we can see really easily what's going on. And just like a rubber band, as we move from our current reality toward our goal, we get more and more tension in the system, and as we're just about to hit the goal, it does have a lot of tension to actually drive you back towards your current reality if you're not careful. So we've got to be, as we get closer to our goal, we start to feel more relaxed, but we actually need to be more attentive as what might be coming up, because it actually is the most risk is up here when we're about to pay it off. And the problem with a credit card is you can't really shut it down until you've actually paid it off. I guess you could put it in the freezer if you're lucky. So, so you'd have to defrost it to use it or something. But, human brains, if the kid needs 3 teeth replaced, you're just going to grab that credit card and just do it. Now, if you didn't have the credit card, you'd actually find another way of getting the money to pay for that. But because we have that structure there and it's available to us still, even though we had a goal and we had an intention to pay it off, we'll still go for that structure because it still exists. So as that tension builds, we get close to the goal, it's really important that probably before we get to the goal, somewhere here in our timeline, we actually start to set something a little bit beyond the goal or prepare for a new structure. So what would be a great new structure for this scenario?
Something that you didn't have access to while you're in debt like this, with running a household and the kids and the family and the associated running costs there. So maybe something like a holiday, maybe taking the whole family to Fiji. That is something you just wouldn't have been able to do before. There's the sun, there's the sand, and that might not be for everybody, but there's probably a lot of people who would love to just bask in a bit of that for a while the kids are in kids club flying around the island with the locals having a great time. You and your partner are chilling. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can start to look for, okay, what's next? And with something like Fiji, as Craig said, if you were way down here in 10 grand debt, you wouldn't even think about it. Now, you might think about it when you get to $0 debt, the card's actually paid off. But then we still haven't really changed the structure. So we actually need to eliminate the credit card altogether so that it doesn't exist. So we cut that sucker up and we go to the bank and we cancel the card. Now, that in itself is a tough process, and that tells you how important it is to the bank that you stay a credit card member, because they make a lot of money out of credit card members, right? You ring up, you get all this, oh, but what if we give you this? What if we give you that? Blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. If you've ever done it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we actually change the structure. We get rid of that thing so it's not even in there. We just keep moving our vision forward because we're signaling to our brain, the subconscious, which is actually a different part to our unconscious. And we're telling the subconscious that we want more. We don't want to keep playing this game anymore. We actually want to go beyond that. And in fact, when we get to Fiji, we don't want to be worrying about how much is it costing us. Oh, these meals are expensive, or, oh, we really want to go snorkeling, but I don't know if we can afford that. We actually want to go to Fiji and get in the whole experience, and beyond that, come home and go, wow, that was fantastic. And I don't have the debt to pay off afterwards either. It's so amazing. I just get to step back into normal life. There's no stress around the fact that we got to have a fantastic holiday on the way out.
What's interesting with this to note as well is that beyond this point, this realm here to this unconscious part of your brain is an unknown, and it's a very scary place to be. Hence,
for the unconscious.
For the unconscious,
yes.
Not for you. And so you're not this. This is a part of you. And so that's why that part of you wants you playing in this familiar realm the whole time, even though it feels like crap more times than not. That's okay, because feels like crap is still safe. Everybody's still alive and we're okay because we know this. When you propose to move forward of where you've always been, then you're moving into that unfamiliar territory. So just be, it's good to be aware. But I guess what I was going to say to that is that when you do that and you achieve this amazing experience, what you do is you train yourself you come to realize that this is actually possible for you, and you can achieve these sorts of things beyond that familiar point.
And of course, once you've done it once, you've now got a reference, and you can do it again and again and again. The more references you have, the more belief you have, the more your unconscious starts to trust you and let you roll from your conscious creation into your subconscious rather than the unconscious. Because the unconscious, it's the thing in your head when you're about to chop that credit card up, or you're about to ring the bank and they're saying, oh, I'm going to give you 1 million frequent flyer points if you stay with us. It's the one going, oh, hang on, maybe we should think about that for a moment. But that's the test. There's often a test as we get to the goals. Just like in the hero's journey, we get a challenge just to check and make sure that we're true to ourselves. So a lot of these times, these things come up, we've experienced that resistance, but we go, no, the new structure is in place because I want what I love, not to live this life over and over and over again. Because a lot of our experience is just the same thing folded in on itself over and over and over again. We never get to level up.
Not just with regard to credit cards,
anything.
In all of the key areas of our life, this sort of thing is going on. When we're living unconsciously, this unconscious part of our being is what's driving the car, steering the ship, whatever you like. It's having all the say and keeping you well and truly in this structure.
Yeah.
So what you'd love in life actually exists here beyond that point.
You can't create what you'd love from the current level that you're living, unless you've already got it under control. But most of us haven't. Most of us, we were completely unaware.
Yeah.
And in fact, the reason why this story is so important to us is because this was our story. Yep. We each had 10 grand of credit card debt when we came together as a partner. So, we broke that cycle. We changed the structure, and we haven't had a credit card debt since. Don't own a credit card anymore. Don't care for a credit card. Probably never have one again.
No.
So, new structure. It's a new way of looking at things, and we've got the unconscious part of the mind. Yeah, it gets to have its say, but it's not in control. It gets to have input, but it's not the one that's actually leading the show. We're not running from things. We're not in fear. We're not in a state of just following like a sheep. We actually know where we're going, not even necessarily how we're going to get there, but we just know that what we love and how to hold that tension and create new structures around how we create.
So we're becoming more conscious in our lives, and when we're conscious, rather than just asleep and running on autopilot, which is more often the case, we start to bring true choice back into our lives. When we're unconscious, we think we're choosing, we think we're making choices every day. But the truth of the matter is that we're just rerunning old patterns and old cycles based on old beliefs and stories that exist here in this part of our mind.
Yeah. Essentially, we're just making the same old decisions over and over.
Yeah, different people, different scenarios and that sort of thing, but the same stuff. And this is why you may have noticed it as well, that you get to a point in your life where you're sort of well and truly over the old patterns, the old stuff. I'm doing that thing again, you know, and they're a different scenario, but I'm
Or
doing
your
the
spouse
same
points
thing.
it out. Hey, you're doing that thing again.
Yeah. So, you know, it is really about moving from an unconscious to a conscious state and regaining your choice back in your life again, which is something you may not have had ever.
Yeah. Or at
Since
least
you're
since
a
you're a
child,
kid. Yeah. And would you take financial advice from a 7-year-old? Probably not.
Which is
But
where
that's
all this
what
come from.
got you in this sticky mess in the first place. So, yeah, that's how it works. So, a lot of what we focus on at our retreat, not all of it, but some of it, is dealing with this unconscious voice, this unconscious part of ourselves. We can't get rid of it, but we can work with it. So like an amazing jiu-jitsu master, we get to work with that energy. We get it to help us to go from here to here. But we can't have it in control. So that's one of the really important elements about the work that we do. And the retreat is coming up soon.
Yep, 14th of October through to the 17th. So it starts on a Sunday, and we hold it in a beautiful location in the Gold Coast hinterland. It's absolutely magical. We have the whole facility, which is beautiful, and the people there take amazing care of us, right down to I shouldn't say, but right across to the chef, you know, and his team. They just look after us beautifully. So
absolutely. So yeah, and that immersion experience where you get to learn things like this just with a group of people who are like-minded and also wanting to get ahead and have a new structure for themselves, it's incredible. And of course, we don't just leave it there. We have a 30-day follow-up after that, just to make sure that once you get back into your everyday life, it doesn't all fall apart, because the environment, the people that you hang around with, it's, you know, you love them, they're amazing, and it puts you back in neurologically, back in the same pattern you were in on the Saturday before you started. So we want to make sure that we've helped you go through that integration once you get back home, because that's really important. And it works a treat. It works so well that, amazing results.
Yeah, the reason we're so sort of pedantic about that is because we've done together, and in our lives before we came together, we've done different seminars and all sorts of things where the information has been nothing short of brilliant.
Yeah,
but
really good.
When you get home, so you're having an expansive experience at the event, and then when you come home, you might be still on fire, so you hold it together for a week, but then it just starts to peter out, and in no time at all, you're feeling like, I'm right back where I was, and nothing's really changed. That is not what this is about. This is about new deep insights, creating completely different perspectives to what you've ever known before, so that you can make the changes within you and have a completely different perspective on your life and the experiences that unfold in your life, and start to create them more consciously through choice, and actually live your life rather than just kind of ducking and weaving and trying to make the most out of things that seem to be coming at you, which is often the case as well.
Absolutely. It's almost like we're taking you through this process. So you have your 4 days, rather than let the entropy take over and bring you back to where you were, we use the next 30 days to drive you along to what you'd really love. So it's a fantastic program. Well, we think it is anyway. We're a little bit biased, but we love it.
Love it. And it's beautiful to watch people's lives unfold. Jump on the website at uauretreats.com. You'll be able to see a bunch of testimonies there from people who have done the retreat as well, and hear from them about their experience. Find out a little bit more about Linda and I and our experience and background as well. And you'll be able to see more about, if it is of interest to you, about how to book into that, what the accommodation looks like, and
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Answers pretty much all your questions, except for all the bits and pieces we're going to go through with you. So
an amazing event. So if you're even half considering it, just let yourself move out of this unconscious. Don't do it, because this part of you knows that something like that, you can feel it in your heart when you sort of sense that there's change there, and it's kind of like it feels right. This part knows that is right, and that there is change pending, and that's not what this part wants, because that's not going to help you to stay here. That's for sure. You
get a little sweaty, a little really gulp in the throat when you're about to press that book now button. But seriously, it's just after a while, this part of your brain actually enjoys the process, but it's just got to get over those first few hurdles of trusting that, you know, that creative process is exactly how we're designed to be. We are desire creatures. That's what we want. We want, even if you had everything you thought you wanted now, you'd still want something more.
Yep, and the beauty is that we are not this. You know, this is an aspect of us. We're not that. And so when you know that, sure, you've got to ask yourself, what are we? And what we actually are as natural, in our natural state, is incredibly powerful creators, because we create all the time. Just we don't realize that we're doing it. Even when we put ourselves back here, we create that too. And we create it really effectively. The key is to using that creative power to move to here. And continue to move to more and more amazing things in your life, because it is available to you. It's just about being conscious and choosing it.
Absolutely. So you don't really need to keep looking for the next shiny object or the person that's going to fix your problems for you or whatever. It's just a new awareness. And we'd like to keep sharing that message with everybody. And if you can come to retreat, great. See you there.
So jump in. And, you know, don't put it off, because this will be the last one for this year as well. And there are limited places. We don't want to have 1,000 people there. We want to keep it intimate so that we can,
group.
So that we can really focus and dive deep with everybody, and everybody gets an amazing experience out of it, a transformative one. So we will look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for jumping on and watching the video as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, bye for now.
Bye.